Hello and welcome back to Positive Mindset Adventures. Have you ever looked around in your life and thought something doesn't fit anymore? Not because everything is bad, but because something inside you has changed. Maybe conversations that used to excite you now leave you feeling drained. Maybe you're questioning your career, your friendships, your routines, or even your goals. Or maybe you can't explain it at all. You just know that the life you've built no longer feels like it belongs to the person you're becoming. If you've been feeling like this, I want you to know something. You might not be lost. You might be simply growing. Today's episode isn't about changing your whole life overnight. It's about recognizing the quiet signs that you've already begun to change and learning how to trust that process. Today, we'll explore what it really means to outgrow your life, why it can feel uncomfortable, the signs that growth is already happening, and how to navigate the season without rushing yourself. My name is Justina, and this is Positive Mindset Adventures podcast. So, what does it mean to outgrow your life? When we hear the phrase outgrowing your life, it can sound dramatic, like you have to quit your job, move to another country, or completely reinvent yourself. But that's not what it usually looks like. Outgrowing your life simply means that your inner world has changed and your outer world hasn't caught up yet. It's when your values evolve, your priorities shift, your definition of success changes. The routines, relationships, or goals that once fit you no longer feel aligned. That doesn't automatically mean they were wrong, it just means they belong to a different version of you. Psychologists often describe identity as something that continues to develop throughout adulthood. Rather than being fixed, it changes as we gain new experiences and reflect on who we are and what matters to us. And from my own personal perspective, I can say that everything I wanted like 2 or 3 years ago um doesn't exist anymore. I want a completely different life, a completely different career. I have completely different goals, and I'm working on them. And I'm proud of my progress and on everything I achieved so far. But it's very important to remember that as we grow, we meet different people with different experiences, with different goals, and often we get inspired by them. We when we get their perspective of life, or when we see their progress, um, and sometimes when we hear their life stories, we often want different things in the future. So, for example, if you meet someone who's very successful, who, let's say, studies a lot, you often get inspired and you often want to become that person. And that just shows how easily we are influenced by other people and how easily other people inspire us to change our goals and to change our perspective. Growth is exciting, but it's also unsettling because when you change, certainty disappears. Our brains like predictability. Research shows that uncertainty can activate stress responses because the brain prefers knowing what to expect, even if what it's expecting isn't ideal. So, even when something isn't making us happy anymore, our mind often says, Stay here. At least you know what it feels like. Sometimes we are grieving a version of ourselves. Sometimes we are grieving people who no longer understand us. And sometimes we are grieving dreams that no longer fit. That's a lot to carry. So, again, from my own personal experience, when I got promoted in my old job to a management position, it felt so uncomfortable because I was the person in charge. I had to tell other people what to do, and if they made a mistake, I had to say to them and ask them to do something again. And before that, I was on their position, so it felt extremely uncomfortable to act bossy sometimes, but that was my job. That's what I had to do. And just the fact of becoming a manager was extremely hard. And deep down, I knew it was the right direction because I knew that it's good for me and for my experience, and that I will learn more about the job, the company I was working for. And I'm glad I did it because I learned a lot of lessons from my managing position. Um, but at the beginning, I was kind of regretting, but I'm really proud of myself that I really wanted to grow and learn everything, and I stayed in that position because I really learned a lot about myself and how I react to certain situations, how I manage stress, and it's very important for me to experience new things in my life. Let's talk about 10 signs you're outgrowing your old life. The first one, things that once excited you no longer do. Not because you're ungrateful, but because you've changed. 2. You crave more peace than excitement. You stop chasing chaos. You start valuing calm. 3. Certain relationships feel different. Some friendships become harder to relate to. Not because anyone is bad, you're simply growing in a different direction. 4. Success looks different now. Maybe you once wanted status. Now you want freedom. Maybe you once wanted to impress people. Now you want to feel fulfilled. 5. You're saying no more often. Boundaries become easier, not because you've become cold, because you've started respecting your energy. 6. You feel lonely sometimes. Growth often creates a gap between who you were and who you're becoming. That's normal part of transition. 7. You're questioning things you never questioned before. Beliefs, habits, goals, relationships. That curiosity isn't a crisis, it's awareness. 8. You're becoming more intentional. You stop asking, what do people expect? And start asking, what actually feels right to me? 9. You're less interested in proving yourself. You know you no longer need everyone to understand your choices. Internal validation begins replacing external validation. Research on self-determination suggests that people experience greater well-being when their actions are guided by their own values rather than external approval. 10. You're both excited and terrified about future. Growth often feels like standing between two lives. One feels familiar, the other feels unknown. Both emotions can exist together. So, I can certainly say that I'm a different person than I was this time a year ago. I went through a lot of changes, especially in my mindset and in what I think about myself and my future. Around this time a year ago, I was very uncertain about my future and I was very depressed and anxious, and I had a lot of negative thoughts about myself. But today, it's completely different. I feel more valued, more secure, and more confident about myself and what I want to do. But this time last year, if someone told me that I would be here doing a podcast, um, I wouldn't believe it. I would just probably laugh and be like, "What are you talking about?" I've always been a people pleaser type of person, and now I'm learning how to say no and how to think more about myself and what I want to do and how I feel. Um, because that should be the most important thing for me. And I used to think about what other people will say if I do this or that, but now I'm trying not to think about it and I'm just doing things that I enjoy and that I want to do. Because, you only live once, so you should enjoy your life and do what makes you happy and what makes you feel fulfilled. And here is a very important question: how to support yourself through the season. Instead of asking, how do I stop changing? Try asking, how do I support myself while I'm changing? Here are a few ideas. Let yourself grieve. You can miss a chapter and still know it's time to turn the page. Stop comparing timelines. Everyone grows differently. Compassion only makes your own path harder to see. Give yourself permission to disappoint people. Not everyone will understand your growth. That doesn't mean your growth is wrong. Stay curious. You don't need all the answers today. Growth often reveals itself one step at a time. Remember that change doesn't erase your past. Your old life wasn't a mistake, it was a chapter. Every version of you helped build the person sitting here today. So, something that really helped me during the time when I was growing and changing was speaking to my therapist. She really helped me understand the changes, and she explained everything to me, why it's happening. But it was nice to have someone to talk to, and just knowing that that person is not going to judge you. If you don't have money to see a therapist, I would suggest to talk to someone in your family or your friends group. But I would recommend to pick someone who it's not going to judge you, and just it's just going to listen to you. But just talking about it can really help you. And also, I'm big into goal setting, so I tried to have at least like maybe 2 or 3 goals, like a really small goals, like I don't know, it could be anything, like go for a walk once a week. That can be one goal. The second goal could be spend more time with your family. It really depends what you're going through. And when I reached it, it really gave me motivation to keep going. And I was able to see that what I'm doing makes sense, and that the change I'm going through makes sense, and that in few months' time that change will be extremely important and it will have a big positive impact on myself. Okay, so I have a journal reflection questions for you. So the first one is, what am I afraid to let go of? What have I quietly outgrown? What version of success feels true to me today? I also have daily practice for this week. And this week, I want you to notice one thing that no longer feels like you. Instead of judging yourself for changing, become curious. Ask, what is this making room for? And the affirmation for this week is, change is uncomfortable, but it is not wrong. If you've been feeling disconnected from your old life, maybe that isn't something to fear. Maybe it's a sign that you're becoming more honest with yourself. Every chapter teaches you something. Every version of you deserves compassion, and just because something no longer fits doesn't mean it was ever a mistake. Thank you for listening to today's episode. As you could see, I took a little break. I just wanted to reflect on my work and maybe start again with fresh energy and fresh ideas. I really needed that break. It was very much needed, and I'm happy to be back and to start creating some more podcast episodes for you guys. I hope you find them helpful, and if you do, please comment down below and tell me what you think. And I really want to thank you so much for watching my other videos, and I hope that you will like my new ideas. And I just want to talk about how important it is to evolve in life and how much courage it takes, because it's not easy and many people give up because they don't see the results or because it takes too long to see the results. But sometimes you don't see them, but other people do. Other people see the changes in your behavior, the changes in how you speak, how you present yourself. And even if someone is commenting like negative stuff about you and how you behave and how you present yourself, you shouldn't be really taking it personally, because no one, because I think it's very important to remember that no one is going to live your life for you. So just do what makes you happy, and obviously you have to treat other people well if you wanted to be treated well. You don't have to become someone completely different. You just have to keep becoming more yourself, and sometimes that's the bravest journey of all. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Until next time, take care of yourself, trust your own peace, and remember, you don't have to stay who you were just because it once felt familiar. And I'll see you in my next episode. Bye!